Hello and welcome to the Minimum Competence episode for Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. I'm your host for today, Andrew Leahy, a tax and technology attorney from New Jersey. On today's episode, SCOTUS weighing Trump's tariff powers, his latest court appointee confirmed, SBF's appeal hits resistance, and Google settles with Epic Games. Let's remember, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And read today's legal news. On this day in legal history, November 5th, 2006, Saddam Hussein, the former president of Iraq, was sentenced to death by hanging for crimes against humanity. The charges stem from the 1982 massacre of 148 Shiite men and boys in the town of Dujail, an act of collective punishment after an assassination attempt on Hussein. The verdict came after a year-long trial before the Iraqi High Tribunal, a special court established to prosecute former members of Saddam's regime. The proceedings were highly controversial, drawing criticism for their fairness, security lapses, and political interference. Saddam's defense team faced threats and attacks, with several lawyers murdered during the trial. International human rights organizations expressed concern over the tribunal's procedures, noting a lack of due process protections. Despite these criticisms, the court found Hussein guilty and sentenced him to death. His co-defendants, including his half-brother Barzan al-Tikriti and former judge Awad al-Bandar, also received death sentences. Saddam remained defiant throughout the trial, refusing to recognize the legitimacy of the court and accusing it of being a tool of occupation. The sentence was upheld on appeal and carried out swiftly, with Saddam Hussein executed on December 30th, 2006. His execution, filmed and leaked online, sparked outrage and deepened sectarian tensions in Iraq. Many saw the trial and its aftermath as exacerbating divisions rather than promoting justice and reconciliation. The event marked a pivotal moment in Iraq's post-invasion legal and political reconstruction, highlighting both the possibilities and limits of transitional justice in a conflict-ridden environment. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear arguments on whether President Donald Trump exceeded his authority by imposing sweeping tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, a 1977 law not originally intended for such use. The case stems from lawsuits by affected businesses in 12 mostly Democratic-led states claiming Trump's application of IEEPA to impose tariffs violated constitutional limits, as Congress, not the president, holds the power to levy taxes and tariffs. The law has traditionally been used to freeze assets or impose sanctions during national emergencies, and not to regulate routine trade. Trump's administration has defended the tariffs as a national security measure and emphasized their economic impact, having generated nearly $90 billion in revenue. The president has pressured the Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, to uphold his interpretation of IEEPA, warning that overturning the tariffs would leave the nation vulnerable. If struck down, the administration intends to pursue the tariffs through other legal avenues. Critics argue the case reflects broader concerns about Trump's expansion of executive power, as IEEPA does not explicitly mention tariffs. The Federal Circuit Court ruled against Trump, stating that Congress likely did not intend to hand the president such broad trade authority, and invoking the major questions doctrine, which limits executive power absent clear congressional approval. The justices' decision will test their willingness to check presidential overreach and could reshape the boundaries of executive authority in economic policy. The U.S. Senate confirmed President Donald Trump's nominee Joshua Dunlap to the First U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, marking a significant shift for the Boston-based court that had, until now, consisted solely of judges appointed by Democratic presidents. The confirmation vote was 52-46, largely along party lines, and this is Trump's first successful appointment to the First Circuit, long viewed as a legal roadblock to many of his policies due to its liberal composition. Dunlap, a conservative litigator from Maine, has a background in challenging progressive state laws, including Maine's ranked choice voting system and paid family leave policies. He previously interned with the conservative legal advocacy group Alliance Defending Freedom and has expressed personal views critical of abortion and same-sex marriage in past public writings. During his confirmation hearing, he maintained that his personal beliefs would not influence his judicial decisions. The vacancy Dunlap fills opened when Judge William Kayada, an Obama appointee, assumed senior status in late 2024. President Biden had nominated Julia Lipez for the seat, but her confirmation stalled before the end of his term. With this appointment, Trump gains a foothold in a court that has played a central role in legal challenges against his administration and which could now shift incrementally rightward. A federal appeals court appeared doubtful of Sam Bankman-Fried's bid to overturn his fraud conviction and 25-year prison sentence tied to the collapse of his FTX cryptocurrency exchange. During oral arguments, judges on the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals questioned whether the trial judge's exclusion of certain defense evidence truly compromised the fairness of the proceedings. One judge asked if, by not disputing the strength of the evidence, Bankman-Fried was effectively conceding its sufficiency. Bankman-Fried's legal team argued that even if the jury had enough evidence to convict, the judge's decisions about what evidence to allow still denied him a fair trial. Specifically, they claimed the jury never saw key materials that could have supported Bankman-Fried's belief that FTX had the funds to honor customer withdrawals. Prosecutors pushed back, emphasizing that the government's case was overwhelming. They noted that 3 insiders testified they conspired with Bankman-Fried to misappropriate customer funds, and documents corroborated their accounts. Bankman-Fried, once a billionaire and crypto industry figurehead, was convicted in 2023 on 7 counts, including fraud and conspiracy, for stealing $8 billion from users. At sentencing, the judge said Bankman-Fried knowingly acted illegally but underestimated the risk of being caught. Though some close to him have reportedly sought a presidential pardon, Trump has not commented. Bankman-Fried is currently incarcerated in a low-security facility in California and is eligible for release in 2044. Google and Epic Games announced a settlement in their years-long legal dispute over app distribution and payment systems on Android devices. While the full terms were not made public, the agreement follows a 2023 jury verdict in favor of Epic, which found that Google had engaged in anti-competitive behavior by securing exclusivity deals with phone makers and app developers to lock them into its Play Store. The settlement arrives as Google was already under a court order to restructure aspects of its App Store. U.S. District Judge James Donato had previously mandated that Google stop favoring its own services and allow developers more freedom, including steering users to cheaper payment options outside the Play Store. He also required Google to provide app catalog access to rivals to support competition. Under the new agreement, many of Donato's requirements remain, but with modifications. Instead of full catalog access, registered app stores will now receive equal treatment to the Play Store, and commission fees for off-store purchases are capped at either 9 or 20% depending on the transaction. Both companies told the court that negotiations involved top executives and were prompted by the court's pressure. The settlement also resolves Epic's related litigation against Samsung. Executives from both companies described the agreement as a step toward greater developer freedom and a more open Android ecosystem. Google emphasized user safety and developer flexibility, while Epic praised the deal as a return to Android's open platform roots. And with that, and as always, I thank you so much for listening to Minimum Competence, your daily news podcast for lawyers. If you're looking for more than Minimum Competence, links to further reading on all the topics touched on today are in the show notes. And reviews go a long way towards helping new listeners to find our show. If you have a moment, you can leave a rating or review on your podcast player. We'd sure appreciate it. And if you know someone that might be interested in a story we cover, consider sending them the episode. But remember, nothing here should be construed as legal advice because it is certainly never that. Minimum Competence is available at minimumcomp.com and wherever it is you get your finely crafted podcasts. If you haven't checked out the website in a while, give it a look. There are complete transcripts and resources for each episode and its corresponding segments, as well as an opportunity to receive new episodes in email, newsletter, form. We'll see you back here tomorrow, and until then, remember, well done is better than well said.